In today's tutorial, we are going to be taking a Procreate animation and adding some illustration to it to take it up a notch. We're going to keep it relatively simple with some tricks to make it quick and easy for you to be able to create your own personalized animation in Procreate. My name is Amanda of amandaarneill.com, where I teach art tutorials to you here on YouTube and also on my own platform with full-length courses. Let's dive into today's animation where we're building on a previous animation of lettering, which if you haven't already watched that video and done the tutorial, you can get to it right here. And today we're going to build off of this. So we are going to add some illustration down towards the bottom of our canvas. Now, rather than going in and adjusting all of these layers to give some space underneath for our illustration, instead of that, because, well, we only have 7 layers, but if we had more than that, it would take a long time. Let's go in and adjust our canvas instead. Clicking on your settings, go into your canvas in your actions. Here you're going to choose to crop and resize. Now, we don't actually want to resize this, but we are going to shift downwards to give ourselves some space underneath for some glasses clinking. Now, this will also help to minimize any quality that's lost by shifting items around on your artboard, because this is a pixel-based program that does tend to happen over time. So once you've shifted it down, this is now centered and shifted to the upper portion of your square. Click on Done, and we have space underneath for our illustration. Let's open up our layers palette here, and inside we have all of our layers with our different cheers animations on it. And if you're starting from scratch, you're just going to be adding layers as you go. And then underneath, we have our layer that we were using for sketching. On that layer, we're going to sketch out a wine glass. Switch to black or whichever color you want for your wine glass sketch, and use one of your sketching brushes like peppermint so that it's not too much pressure as you're drawing in your wine glass. Once that layer is visible again, you're going to make a quick and easy wine glass down here. You can either keep it with a super sketchy look like this, or you can use your snapping shapes to make sure that your shapes are more perfect, so that if you just do your ellipse and then hold it there, you can then get a perfect ellipse. And same with your circle ellipse on top. If you just wait a second, it'll snap into shape and you can fit it onto your wine glass perfectly. Doing the 2 lines off the bottom again, if you wait, you can snap them in there. And I like to think sometimes for a sketch that it's really nice to have those perfect shapes, but typically for the final product, I don't keep them perfect. I will draw them out again just freehand because it leads to a bit more of a natural look. So one thing we need to make sure that we're also sketching in for is the wine inside the glass. Drawing that in. Once you have your sketch, we can start to draw this on the first layer with color. And you do want to draw it on your first animated layer there. So not the sketch layer here that we have, but you want to draw it properly. So going in, choose one of your favorite brushes, or you can always just choose your syrup inking brush again and draw out your actual wine glass. Let's draw the top rim with black and wait for that to snap into place. Draw the outside of your glass as well with black. And the nice thing about this syrup brush is that it does give you some thicks and thins naturally as you draw. But if you have a space like this where there's a little bit too much, you can always just go in and erase that with a monoline brush or even with your syrup brush so that you have perfect curves in the corners and perfect meetups for your lines. I like to do that little bit of cleaning up because we are actually going to be reusing this wine glass over and over throughout our animation, so make sure that it's exactly like you want it. Now, adding in the stems to your wine glass, I do notice that my first ones have ended up a little bit off center, so make yours nicely centered. And then your ellipse, one with just another one underneath for the base of your glass. And again, make sure that your lines are all meeting up. You can always go in and erase sections where your pixels might go over the edge. And when you zoom in, you can see that it's pretty pixelated, but it's not going to matter because we are going to be bringing this down into a smaller size. To give this a little bit of a three-dimensional look, let's add just a curved line mimicking the side with some dots to either side. That helps to give a bit of dimension. You can even do the bottom sort of thing on the wine glass there. And then we need to fill this image. Now it gets a little bit tricky to fill your cup because we're trying to work just on the one layer. So click on the layer underneath, add a new layer in, and we're going to fill the cup and then merge those two layers together so that the black line is still on top of the fill underneath. So here you're going to choose the color for your wine, red wine or white wine, it's totally up to you. And drawing your ellipse, get that in there, and you can choose to fill this either by coloring it in or by dropping your color in. I'm going to color an outline here and then drop this color into the bottom and a slightly lighter version up on the top here. Now with a slightly darker color, you can add a little bit of that darkness down to the bottom of your glass. Again, just creating a little bit more dimension. And we're going to merge those layers together. So coming back out here, take your top layer, choose merge down, and your cup of wine is all put together. If you'd like to add in a few more black lines, just to give a little bit of definition to where that wine is, you are more than welcome to do that. It also gives it a bit of a looser, more sketchy sort of feel. Now, as we're doing our final details on the wine glass, I do want to mention one thing, and that's that we right now have a white background. So if that's turned off, that's what you're going to see. If you want your wine glass to be white, you might want to fill it with white, but I'm going to just keep it clear because I'm picturing this being sent on a white background. So then you don't have to worry about filling in the cup, but keep that in mind that if you want this to be on some colored background, you're going to want to fill in that cup with white, and you can do it the exact same way that we did the red in the glass. Go underneath, add a new layer, and then fill in your cup with white. Once it's all filled in, simply merge that top layer down, and now you have a wine glass that will show up even if it's on a different colored background. Okay, let's take this wine glass and we are going to duplicate it. So using your selection tool, draw a box around your wine glass, and you are going to not use the copy and paste down here. Instead, you are going to choose your actions and then add, copy, and now still on this exact same layer, choose to paste it. It's pasted it right on top, but we want to put our wine glasses side by side. So put those two side by side, and then you might notice now they're quite far off to the side. Once you merge these two layers together, you can then choose to shift them both into the middle. And we are going to be doing a lot of shifting through the rest of this tutorial because we need to shift these glasses so that they are cheersing. So they're going to essentially be doing this from here to here and back out. Or you can choose for them just to come in, and we'll use the magic of the animation for them to go back out. Let's do that one. It just means less work for us. It's great. All right. Turn off that sketch layer. We don't need it anymore. We have our two wine glasses. They're ready to go. And we need to now duplicate them into the layer above. Select both of them. And here's where you can choose copy and paste. That's now moved them onto their own layer. And we are going to merge down that animation from above. So you should now have two layers where it has cheers and cups. Now we want to start to shift the cups. Selecting one cup, take it and shift it in ever so slightly, and you can even angle it just a little bit as well. You'll see underneath where it used to be placed, and that will allow you to sort of time your animation. I don't like to do it so that each of these cups are moving the exact same each time. Sometimes one of them can just rotate or shift up a little bit. It just makes it look a little bit more natural. And after you shift it ever so slightly, you're going to duplicate both of them. So select both of those cups, choose copy and paste. It's pasted above, and you're simply going to merge that cheers layer down. So now you have your third layer with glasses and cheers. And again, you're going to select each of these and shift it slightly. Now, this is not a problem because normally you don't want to do too much shifting and duplicating and all of that because it decreases the quality. But we're keeping in mind that this is a GIF. It's only 7 frames, so you don't need to worry about that too much. For other projects, you probably want to avoid this, but for a fun project like this, a simple animation, it's perfectly fine. So now select, make sure you select all of it. If you miss, you can always go around again. Select that, and we're going to shift it. Again, clink a little bit closer, and the other one can shift as well. It gets a little bit harder to make sure that you're selecting just the shape. So zoom in so that you can see exactly what you're selecting and you get all of the edges. And we'll shift this one in, and they're still not fully to clinking, getting close. Copy and paste, and we're getting very close to the top. So merge this down, and now go in and get these guys really close together, like uncomfortably close. So make sure that you are zooming in so that you can see what you're selecting and getting right in between those two guys there. Going all the way around, and because I went off the bottom of my screen, it didn't catch it, so you can simply go around and make sure it's in there. And now shifting it more to the side and a little bit more up, because we tend to lift up when we cheers. And over to the other glass. Again, you're going to want to zoom in quite a bit for your selection. Get right in there. And then once you zoom out, you can continue that selection on. Transform. So we're rotating it a little bit and shifting it slightly up. Now it's starting to go on top of the S there. We still have another 2 layers, so we don't want them fully meeting yet. So it's actually kind of nice that they're starting to move up a little bit more. The only problem though is that it's going to make it very difficult for you to cut just this part and move it to the cheers layer above. So I would suggest that until your very last layer, don't shift it all the way up into that S. Keep it ever so slightly separated. So we have 2 more. Now, because we're getting really close to the cheers and because we're also getting really close to each other, this might be a point where you say, you know what, 6 animation frames is plenty. Let's just go for that. And I think that that's probably the option that I would choose. Sometimes you'll just realize that your animation has hit its end, or you might need to add 1 or 2 more frames, and you want to feel flexible to be able to do that. So once they're selected, copy them one more time, merge down so that it's all together, and now we will do our final clinking, where the 2 cups actually come together. So make sure that you are careful in with your cheers, careful in between your 2 cups, and then choose your transform tool to shift this up and a little bit more angled so that they are going to be touching. We still have to shift this other cup, so do keep that in mind that you are going to be needing to get in there. Totally doable though, just make sure that you are zoomed right in as you go to select, and then you can zoom back out to get the rest of the glass. Choose to transform it, and we'll move it a little bit closer and a little bit up. It's actually still like right on that first one there, but we've shifted it up a little bit so that both cups still look like there's action. And like I said, now we have reached the end of what we can do with the cups. So you can either just turn off the visibility of that top layer or delete it completely. And clearing away those layers, now we have our animation done. Let's play it to see those 2 glasses clinking together. So right now we have the settings so that they're clinking and then just popping back apart. And we want them to clink and move apart. And that can be set in your settings where instead of the loop setting, you have ping pong. So those two come in and come back out. Again, in your settings, you can change your speed so that either they clink faster or they clink slower, but choose one that to you looks natural, something that you're happy with. I have mine at 13 frames per second, which allows the cup motion to look distinct, but it also still looks smooth. And our animation now has two elements. It has the written element that we did in that first video, again, linked right up here, and an animation that also has cups involved. Of course, you can always get more detailed with animation, and we absolutely do that in the full course, The Ultimate Guide to Procreate 5, which goes deep into animation, brush creation, all of those good things. And that's absolutely something that you should check out if you are interested learning more about Procreate and using your iPad to its maximum potential. Because there are so many things that you can do, and I want to make sure that you are tapping into your full capabilities. So until next time, cheers and happy lettering. I don't like cranberry juice. No, it's so strong.